My best friend and I married into the same family. I married the quiet, emotionally distant older brother. She married the smooth-talking, boyish younger one. After the wedding, our mother-in-law decided she hated both of us. She griped that I was useless for not giving her a grandson, and she complained that my bestie was a vixen who spent all day seducing her younger son. After the millionth time she had us both shaking with rage, I turned to my friend. "Are you ready to bail? I've saved up enough for both of us." Zoe said, "I'm in, but I think I might be pregnant." I frowned. "Oh, really? Okay, no problem. I'll just have to work hard and get pregnant tonight, too. Then we can make our getaway with even more cash. Rich, gorgeous, a kid, and no husband. We'll have it all." 5 months later, Zoe and I were at prenatal yoga, bellies and all. Suddenly, the door flew open, and 2 familiar men appeared in the doorway. My cold, distant husband, in front of everyone, pulled me into his arms and started crying. Behind him, the boyish younger brother just started bawling his eyes out. My bestie, Zoe, and I were watching TV in the living room when our mother-in-law came over carrying a large basin. She plopped it down on the huge coffee table, right on top of the mini cheesecakes we hadn't finished. I was about to lose it when the head of a live chicken poked out of the basin, startling me. The hen stared right at me, and it was seriously creeping me out. A second later, it let out 2 clucks, and with another soft plop, an egg appeared in the basin. My mother-in-law picked it up and sneered at me. "Even a random chicken I bought at the market knows how to lay an egg. Some people can be married for 2 years and produce nothing." As if that wasn't enough, she stepped closer, trying to shove the egg in my face. I recoiled. "Mom, you've got poop on your hands. It stinks." It finally registered what she'd done. She dropped the egg and bolted for the bathroom. Apparently feeling like her first performance wasn't good enough, she was even more direct when she came back out. "Jane, I at least gave the Grant family 2 sons. If you can't do the job, then get out of the way. Don't be the sinner who ends our family line." All the pent-up frustration from the past few days just exploded out of me. "Mom, Nate is barely home once a month. If I actually got pregnant, wouldn't you be terrified? Or are you suggesting I reproduce asexually? Is that how you and Dad had Nate and Leo? I had no idea you were so progressive, Mom. Next time I visit Dad's grave, I'll be sure to let him know that neither of his sons are actually his." Zoe, afraid I was going to give myself an aneurysm, tugged on my sleeve. "Come on, let's go shopping." Before I could agree, my mother-in-law shot Zoe the most contemptuous, head-to-toe look I'd ever seen. With a cold snort, she spat. "Don't think you're so innocent, you little tramp. If you're that good at seducing men, you should be out selling it. You're clinging to my younger son day and night, running him into the ground." What? Was this old woman a professional contrarian in a past life? She could argue about anything. I stepped in front of Zoe, glaring at my mother-in-law. "When I'm not intimate with your older son, you complain I can't have kids. But when the younger couple is happy and in love, you hate that too. You're so good at finding fault, you must have been a magnifying glass in your past life." Her finger, pointing at me, was trembling. You shrew. "My pills, oh, my heart. Quick, get my medicine. She's trying to kill me." The housekeeper rushed upstairs. I rolled my eyes so hard I almost saw my brain. We'd seen this show a dozen times. If she wasn't tired of it, I sure was. My mother-in-law was healthier than I was. I'd seen her pills before, they were just vitamin C tablets. When Zoe and I walked out the front door, the blue sky and white clouds suddenly felt incredibly liberating. Looking back at the luxurious estate, I had zero desire to ever step foot in it again. I turned to Zoe. "Are you ready to bail? I've saved up enough for both of us." Without a second of hesitation, she nodded. "I'm in, but I think I might be pregnant." After years of friendship, did I even need to ask what she was thinking? "Oh, really? Okay, no problem. I'll just have to work hard and get pregnant tonight, too. Then we can make our getaway with even more cash, our good looks, and our babies. We'll have it all. Zoe's eyes lit up, and she gave me a wicked you get me grin. We headed off to the mall, laughing. In 2 years of marriage, I rarely saw Nate Grant. He was generous with money, I could use his credit card for anything, no limit. But that was it. To him, I was a stranger. He barely spoke, and when he did, it was usually just, dinner's ready, or, get some rest. Zoe used to joke that our 8-foot-wide bed must be great for trying out all sorts of new positions. In reality, its only purpose was to maximize the distance between me and Nate. One night, I was sleeping restlessly and just happened to roll over in his direction. He jumped back so fast he fell right off the bed. After that, whenever he was home, I was too afraid to sleep deeply, terrified of another awkward incident. And on top of it all, I had to deal with my mother-in-law's constant torment. At first, I tried to be a dutiful daughter-in-law, to be patient. But all I got in return was her doubling down. I only started fighting back when she told people I was bad luck and had caused my own parents' deaths. My dad died in a car crash when I was young, and my mom, who had raised me all on her own, passed away from an illness right after I got a job and she could finally relax. If you ask me, my mother-in-law said, the reason she can't have kids is karma for all her sins. She jinxed her own parents to death. Ugh, how scary. Seeing how upset I looked, Zoe bought me a milk tea with extra sugar. She poked the straw in and held it right to my lips. The sweet taste made me feel a little better, but it was immediately followed by a wave of guilt. Babe, are you sure you want to run away with me? I mean, you and Leo. Zoe cut me off with a laugh. Have you forgotten who I used to be? I've had my fun, and honestly, I'm a little bored. Besides, if I have to look at that old hag one more day, my milk ducts are going to clog up from the stress. Zoe used to be a total player. A sweet face with killer social skills. At her peak, she had a roster of 9 different guys. But it all came at a price. She grew up with a vicious stepmother. In her words, you get screwed over enough, you learn how the world works. For our baby-making mission, Zoe and I each picked out our tools of the trade. She bought some sexy, see-through lingerie. Looks like she was going for the friendly, everybody wins approach. I was a lot more direct. I went straight to the pharmacy. Thinking about my horrible mother-in-law and my cold husband, I got emotional. I cried to the pharmacist about how my husband couldn't perform and how our family business was at risk. The pharmacist, bless her heart, gave me her strongest stuff. No man can resist this, she promised. Perfect. Zoe and I returned home, loaded with our new acquisitions. As we got close to the house, Zoe's face hardened. We can't just leave like cowards, she said. We have to go out with a bang. Make those brothers see who the real villain is. I tapped my fingers on the steering wheel. After being bullied by my mother-in-law for so long. Yeah, she deserved a little payback before we left. The second Zoe and I walked in, we heard our mother-in-law's voice, loud and dramatic, telling her side of the story. My brother-in-law, Leo, was standing opposite her, trying his best to argue. Mom, Zoe's not like that, and Jane definitely isn't. Please, just stop. Nate stood off to the side, saying nothing, as if it had nothing to do with him. Even though I was the main target of her rant. When he saw me walk in, he glanced at his mother. Just one look, a fleeting glance, and she shut up. It didn't make me feel any better. It just made me feel tired. I felt like an overinflated balloon, trying desperately not to pop. But I was reaching my limit. Zoe gave my hand a discreet squeeze and winked. It was like she was saying, stop thinking. Stick to the plan. I finally snapped out of it. I watched her put on a cute, innocent smile, take Leo's hand, and place it over her heart. Honey, I heard what your mom said. It really, really hurts. I didn't do any of those things. I just love you so much, I can't bear to be away from you. If that's wrong, if it makes your mom uncomfortable, I can change. From now on, we can keep our distance, you know, like Nate and Jane. Leo nearly tripped over his own feet. He half dragged, half carried Zoe upstairs to work on their relationship. Mom, Zoe's not feeling well, so I'm just going to go up with her for a bit. We'll be down in, 2 or 3 hours. I gave Zoe a subtle thumbs up. Mission accomplished. I lowered my eyes and bit my lip. After a moment, I looked up at Nate. He still had that blank expression, as if nothing in the world could ever faze him. I clenched the fist hidden behind my back, my nails digging into my palm until the pain brought me back to my senses. Let's go upstairs, I said. I have something important to tell you. Nate still had no reaction. After a word with his mother, he walked to the bottom of the stairs and made a polite after-you gesture. Polite, courteous, and so distant. Anyone who knew us would know we'd been married for 2 years. Anyone who didn't would think we'd met 2 minutes ago. I sighed, trying to release the tightness in my chest. It was no use. My mind was flooded with all of Nate's little actions and his words. The more I thought, the angrier I got, and I missed a step on the stairs. My mind went blank. Just as I thought I was about to faceplant and reboot my life, I fell into a strong embrace. I looked up and met Nate's worried gaze. Just for a second. When I looked again, his eyes were as still as a deep well. Be careful. He set me stably back on the step and just stood there, waiting for me to keep going. I almost laughed out loud. This staircase is 15 feet wide, and you can't walk next to me? In the room, I threw myself onto the bed. Go take a shower, I said, my voice muffled. Nate just blinked, then nodded and obediently went into the bathroom. When I heard the water running, I quickly poured a glass of water. I added the powder, following the pharmacist's dosage instructions. Then I thought about it and added a little more. For someone like Nate, who seemed devoid of all mortal desire, a higher dose was probably necessary. With that in mind, I poured in some more. When Nate came out of the shower, he was fully dressed. It was 100 degrees outside, and even with the AC blasting, he had his pajamas buttoned all the way to the top. The gray fabric, paired with his ice-cold face, was the epitome of untouchable. I handed him the water. Drink your medicine, your water. Nate's hand hesitated as he took the glass. I felt a pang of guilt and snapped at him. Just drink it. What, you think I poisoned it? If you're not going to drink it, give it back. Seeing Nate drink the entire glass, I sat back down on the side of the bed, trying to act casual while I watched for his reaction. That pharmacist wasn't kidding. Within 10 minutes, Nate's face was flushed, and he was tearing at his collar, his breathing growing heavier and heavier. The sound sent a shiver down my spine. I slapped my cheeks. Get a grip, I told myself. It's not like you've never had sex before. Don't get so worked up. Then I thought about it. Actually, I hadn't. How sad. Well, lucky Nate. I looked up to check on him, and in a flash, he was gone. I looked again and saw Nate with his head directly under the faucet. He'd rather drown himself than touch me. I stomped over and grabbed his arm. As he looked up, I grabbed his head with both hands and pulled his face toward mine. I don't think I fought this hard when Zoe and I were wrestling for the last piece of braised pork knuckle. The moment our lips met, his cool and soft, I clearly saw his eyes widen in shock. A moment later, he started to struggle. He was probably afraid of hurting me, so his movements were gentle and not very effective. If anything, it just fired me up more. The harder he fought, the more determined I became. Before long, I'd valiantly wrestled him onto the bed. I straddled him and started taking off my clothes. Jane, what are you doing? Don't. Listen to this guy. Is that something a human would say? We were a married couple, for crying out loud, and he was pulling this crap. I gritted my teeth, yanked with both hands, and ripped his pajama top open. Buttons went flying. A perfectly sculpted set of abs appeared before me. Looks like I was in for a good meal. My hands didn't stop, and my brain worked even harder. I mentally flipped through hundreds of steamy romance novels I'd read. I ran my hands all over Nate's body. He was so hot it felt like he was about to catch fire. At times, his body would even arch up to meet my touch. So hot. I loved it. "Jane, we can't." You can't right now." He actually said I couldn't. A woman has her pride in these matters. My actions toward Nate grew rougher as I got down to business. The moment I tried to enter, the pain made me wince, and tears of victory streamed down my face. But I'd come this far. I couldn't give up now. I pushed forward, and as I got into a rhythm, Nate began to get a taste for it and took the lead. The smile on my face slowly transferred to his. Over and over, he drove every coherent thought from my head. In a hazy state, I heard a man's voice in my ear. Again and again, it said he loved me so much. I must have been hallucinating. After that, everything went black. I felt like I was in a dream that was rocking back and forth, lifting me to the peak again and again. It was my phone buzzing that woke me. The first thing I did was turn my head. Nate was sound asleep. One of his arms was wrapped around me, holding me in his embrace. This was the closest he'd ever been to me. From this angle, he was really, truly handsome. The most handsome man I'd ever seen, which is why I'd spent all these years trying to get closer to him. Another buzz pulled me from my fantasy. It was a text from Zoe, reminding me to put a pillow under my hips. To increase my odds. I scrambled to do it. Nate must have felt me move, because he pulled me back into his arms. Lying next to him, I placed a hand on my belly. For a split second, I felt like this was perfect, so fulfilling. I looked at Nate again. He must have been having a bad dream, because his brows were furrowed. Just like they always were whenever he was around me. Let's just call it a dream. One last time. Over the next few days, Nate went back to treating me the same as before, distant and polite. I didn't try to change anything, because the opportunity for Zoe and me to leave had finally arrived. My mother-in-law's new beauty salon was having its grand opening. She'd invited a ton of society wives and their daughters, so the chaos would be the perfect cover for our escape. Even better, Zoe and I had managed to send both brothers on wild goose chases, so they couldn't get back in time. For today's getaway, Zoe and I had dressed the part. Zoe wore something sexy. Her innocent face and killer body had not just men but also women turning their heads. I wore a simple, elegant Zen-inspired outfit with understated makeup, giving off an air of someone who had seen through the vanity of the world. Sure enough, the moment our mother-in-law saw us, her face soured. She pulled us aside and immediately laid into Zoe. "Who are you trying to hook now, dressed like such a tramp? I bet my younger son was working hard last night. What a disgrace to the family, marrying trash like you. If you ever leave, I'll throw a 3-day party with fireworks to celebrate." After roasting Zoe, she turned on me. "Heh, and what the hell are you wearing? Are you planning to become a nun? I guess it makes sense. My older son left without a word last night. He has no interest in even sleeping with you. What kind of woman are you, that you can't even hold on to a man? Hurry up and pack your rags and get lost." I glanced up at the ceiling, at the security camera disguised as a light fixture. I didn't say a word. On our way back to our private room, Zoe and I kept our faces blank, trying our best to look heartbroken and defeated. Inside, we were ecstatic. Every time I was about to crack a smile, I secretly pinched myself. One pinch was so hard it brought tears to my eyes. Seeing my commitment, Zoe wasn't about to be outdone. As a result, by the end of the day, everyone knew the Grant brothers' wives had been berated to tears by their mother-in-law. We found a blind spot, changed our clothes, and let Zoe work her magic. She used to be a makeup artist and was a master of disguise. In no time, we both had perfectly average, forgettable faces. I led her out through a hidden exit. I didn't look back. I just glanced at the bank cards in my purse. Over the past few days, I had sold every bag and piece of jewelry Nate had ever bought me. The money was enough for Zoe and me to live lavishly for the rest of our lives. In the car, Zoe and I, in perfect sync, tossed our old SIM cards and put in new ones. We both held up our phones and clinked them together. To our new lives. 5 months later, my bestie and I walked into prenatal yoga class with our baby bumps. We were greeted with a warm welcome, and several people even rushed over to share snacks and mini cakes with us. I remembered when we first started coming here. Because Zoe and I were young and pretty, and no men ever came to pick us up, some people suspected we were some rich guy's mistresses. I quickly clarified that our husbands were dead. Zoe immediately put on a sad face and nodded silently. She even pulled out a photo of her and Leo, saying she would forever cherish the memory of her late husband. Everyone looked at the picture and commented. He doesn't look too bright. You can tell he's the type who would never cheat. Ah, what a shame. After seeing Zoe's, they insisted on seeing mine. Nate and I didn't really have any photos together. After a long search, I found one. It was a candid shot Zoe had taken. She thought I looked especially beautiful in it and had photoshopped it for me. Whoa, this guy would be even less likely to cheat. He just looks so devoted, no ulterior motives at all. With a face like that, it's a tragedy he died so young. Is that how you use that phrase? But they were only half right. Nate was definitely devoted to his work. He didn't have an emotional bone in his body. Today, the yoga teacher was stuck in traffic, so we all started chatting. After taking classes together for so long, we were all comfortable with each other and didn't hold back. They had a new mission, to find new partners for me and Zoe. They started asking us about our ideal types. Zoe went first. He's gotta be young. No old guys or middle-aged guys. Men are worthless after 25. I like sweet boys who are romantic and know how to take care of someone. I was listening intently when I suddenly felt a chill. It wasn't the temperature. It was a prickly feeling, like danger was looming. I looked around but didn't see anything out of the ordinary, so I wrote it off as my imagination. After grilling Zoe, they turned to me. Mine was much simpler. He has to be able to talk. And be handsome. Zoe got more excited than I did, since she knew my situation with Nate. She quickly jumped in to add more. My friend absolutely refuses to date a man who's basically a mute. And anyone who's cold and heartless is also a no-go. Just those 2 requirements, but if one is missing, forget it. If they have neither, they don't even get a ticket to the lottery. Let me tell you about men like that. Zoe had become my personal mouthpiece and was just about to continue her rant. The classroom door flew open, and a figure rushed in. He was moving so fast he was a blur. At first, I couldn't even see who it was. Until he spoke, his voice thick with tears. Zoe, I haven't even had my 25th birthday yet. How could you leave me? Leo was clinging to Zoe for dear life. A feeling washed over me. I looked toward the door. Nate was standing there, staring straight at me. He still had that same blank expression. Leo must have dragged him here today. I watched Leo, who looked like he wanted to physically merge with Zoe, and then I looked at Nate. A sourness crept into my heart, laced with a bitter sting. I took 2 steps back, ready to leave, but Leo's long arm shot out and grabbed my wrist. He yelled over his shoulder. Bro, get over here. I got her for you. Nate froze for a second, then took 1 quick step forward. But that was it. Just 1 step, and then nothing. His eyes, however, never left me. Seeing him just stand there, Leo gritted his teeth in frustration. Stop dawdling, or you'll be crying about it later. Weren't you the one screwing up at work? Weren't you the one flying all over the country looking for her? Weren't you the one who almost died from exhaustion after working 72 hours straight? Weren't you the one who rubbed her photo so much it started to fade? I looked at Nate, then at Leo. I was pretty sure he was just making stuff up. Nate, probably fearing his dear brother was about to spill more dramatic secrets, finally walked over to me. Leo immediately let go of my wrist and whisked Zoe away. I tried to stop him, but Nate blocked my path. He didn't say anything. He just kept looking at me. His gaze was so intense, I wondered if there was something written on my face. Facing this poker face, I couldn't find any words either. As we stood in silence, the other students in the class started buzzing. They'd been watching the whole thing and had pieced together what was happening. One of the more outgoing women summed it up. It's like a novel come to life. The secret baby trope with a CEO. Oh my God, I'm seeing a real-life CEO. That chiseled jaw, that icy aura, the author didn't lie. I looked up at Nate again. He seemed to have lost a lot of weight, which made his features look even sharper and more severe. Logically, that should have made him seem even more unapproachable. But standing this close to him, so close I could feel the warm air from his breath, I felt a strange sense of peace. Maybe Nate finding me here meant he cared, just a little. Could what Leo said be true? In our 2 years of marriage, aside from his lack of intimacy, Nate had been a good husband. I could spend his money however I wanted. Once, Zoe and I went to an auction and bought 2 necklaces for $30 million each, and he didn't say a word. He just handed me a higher-level credit card afterward, worried I might not have enough. Maybe the saying where the money is, the love is applied to Nate, too. With that thought, I looked up and gave him what I hoped was a bright, radiant smile. I was about to speak, but Nate beat me to it. His voice was tight with a suppressed anger and some other emotion I couldn't decipher. How could you be pregnant? Who said you could get pregnant? My smile froze on my face. I quickly looked down, burying my head lower and lower. A wave of shame washed over me, so strong it felt like I was drowning. I clenched my fists, but my eyes started to well up anyway. I had to bite my lip to keep from making a sound. After all, I had stolen this child, hadn't I? Seeing me like this, Nate panicked. He wanted to explain. He opened his mouth several times, but nothing came out. Just when I felt most humiliated and helpless, Zoe stormed back in and yanked Nate away from me. What's your problem? What century are you living in? Women have been liberated. We have womb freedom. She wanted to get pregnant, so she got pregnant. It just proves she's healthy. You can boss around the sky and the earth, but are you going to boss around your ex-wife, too? You'd be better off if you never learned how to talk. Zoe wrapped her arms around me and shot a glare at Leo. What are you looking at? You two brothers are cut from the same cloth. So annoying. Such bad luck. Ladies, we're leaving. Don't forget to set us up on some dates, especially Jane. Find her 10 or 8 pretty boys who know how to talk. You can give her my share, too. Jane is what's most important. Leo panicked and rushed to block our path. Jane, you know what my brother is like. He's just terrible with words, but there has to be a misunderstanding. Nate, say something. God, you're killing me. Jane, my brother works so hard just to make more money for you to go shopping. You don't know, but he has your picture on his desk. He looks at it all day. His private lounge is filled with your photos, all candid shots. He's like a total stalker. I swear on my life, he absolutely loves you. Jane, please give him one more chance. Zoe rolled her eyes and shot back. Don't you dare try to guilt trip her. He can't use his words, so he deserves to be alone. Jane, I'm telling you, never trust a man's words. They'll put on a show just to make you cry. The ones who are best at playing the victim are the biggest players, because they know how to exploit a woman's soft heart. Guys like that have been around the block. They're not reliable. She glared at Leo. Leo immediately shut his mouth and stepped aside. Any more, and he'd be taking himself down, too. As I was about to leave, Nate grabbed my hand. His palm was hot, a warmth I rarely felt. After all, I could count the number of times we'd held hands on one hand. The thought made my nose tingle. I'm so tired. Let go. The moment Nate let go, Zoe and I walked out without looking back. Just as we were leaving the classroom, I heard someone say it looked like this was going to be a tragedy. I shook my head. The story of me and Nate was already over. But the next day, Leo and Nate showed up at our door, dragging suitcases. Between the two of them, they had 10 suitcases. A moron could see they were planning to stay. Leo made himself right at home, opening 2 of the suitcases, which were filled with gifts for me and Zoe. It's hard to stay mad at someone with a smiling face. He cheerfully started cleaning the house while Nate went straight to the kitchen. I stood in the doorway, watching him move with practiced ease, first starting a soup, then prepping ingredients, then stir-frying. He looked like someone who cooked often, which was funny, because this was the first I knew of Nate's culinary skills. Before long, he had prepared a full table of food, and more than half of the dishes were my favorites. After yesterday's disaster, I didn't dare let myself feel any hope or fantasies. I just kept my head down and didn't pick up my chopsticks. Suddenly, a bowl of nourishing porridge appeared in front of me. That smell. I eagerly took a bite. It was true. He had been the one making it. I loved this porridge, I could drink it every day. But for some reason, the auntie at home was so inconsistent with it. Zoe, sitting across from me, had already started digging in, trying a bit of everything. She sighed. So you're the mysterious weekend chef. We had always thought it was strange. Once or twice a week, the food would be exceptionally delicious. And a lot of it would be my favorite dishes. When we asked the housekeeper, she just said it depended on her mood. We even bought her gifts to keep her in a good mood. It hadn't really worked. Turns out, this was the reason. Nate was so busy with his company, he obviously didn't have time to cook every day. Especially not in secret. Seeing me drink the porridge, Nate's lips curved up in a barely perceptible smile. He said, "From now on, I can cook for you guys, often." Nate sat down next to me and, using the serving chopsticks, put some of my favorite dishes that were far away onto my plate. When I looked up, my eyes met his. His gaze fell to my belly. Oh. It was for the baby. After dinner, Leo took Zoe out. Nate stood in front of me. After a long pause, he began, I cut him off. I want to raise this child myself. I don't have any family left. You're not going to try and take this from me, too, are you? Nate frowned, looking confused by my words. He tried to explain. I wasn't thinking that, but Jane, this baby. He stopped himself before finishing the sentence. Always like this. Never saying anything, leaving you to guess. It was exhausting. Since getting pregnant, I hadn't had much of an appetite. Now, I couldn't eat anything at all, not even a single spoonful of my favorite porridge. Nate started spending more time at home. 24 hours a day, he was either by my side or in the kitchen, cooking all my favorite things. But it had no effect. In fact, my nausea got worse whenever I saw him. That night, there was a knock on my bedroom door. It was Zoe. She was holding a steaming bowl of stinky river snail noodle soup. I swallowed hard. Am I allowed to eat this while pregnant? Zoe's eyes darted to the side and then quickly back. Following her gaze, I saw the corner of a light gray shirt. I understood instantly. Nate made it. He knew I couldn't stand the sight of him, so he was staying hidden. While I was eating, Zoe told me. When Nate was cooking it, he was gagging the whole time. He was heaving worse than you were. I thought he was going to fall apart. Haha. A strange sense of satisfaction washed over me. The noodle soup in my bowl suddenly tasted even better. As I was slurping down the noodles, I noticed it had gotten very quiet across from me. I looked up and saw Zoe watching me with a motherly expression. Isn't this so much better? Don't let unimportant things ruin your mood. You said you were going to protect me, right? How can you protect me if you don't get strong? Besides, it's your body. You can get pregnant if you want. If he really didn't want to, he wouldn't have been able to get it up in the first place. Seeing that Zoe was about to get explicit, I quickly covered her mouth. Zoe's eyes crinkled into a smile. You have the best friend in the world and $1 billion. What's there to be unhappy about? Come on, give me a smile. If this one doesn't work out, get a new one. With that face, and, whoa, have your boobs gotten bigger? With a body like this, please. You'll never be short on men. Once I got out of my own head, I found that I was much calmer when facing Nate. When he suggested a doctor come give me a checkup, I agreed without a fuss. I heard it was a team of specialists, so I asked Zoe to come along. I noticed that my exam had a lot more tests than Zoe's. I just figured Nate was worried about his child and wanted to be extra thorough. I didn't think much of it. As soon as Zoe was done, Leo whisked her away. The huge hospital room was empty except for me. I really hated hospitals, so I decided to go for a walk. Just as I reached a corner, I heard Nate's voice. His tone was full of concern. Doctor, how is Jane's illness? Illness? He's calling pregnancy an illness? Just as I was thinking he must be joking, I heard the doctor say. After 2 years of medication, she's mostly recovered. From what we can see, the baby is fine. As long as she takes care of herself, there shouldn't be a major flare-up. Don't worry. The doctor went on to explain some other things, but I was in a fog. It wasn't until he said the name of a disease that my whole body went limp, and I nearly collapsed. It was my mother's illness. The one that killed her. The noise I made attracted Nate's attention, especially since I'd cried out when I almost fell. He rushed over. Seeing my tear-rimmed eyes, he panicked. He reached out to wipe away a tear, then pulled his hand back. I grabbed his hand. Are you still going to hide it from me? Based on the timeline of the medication the doctor mentioned, plus Nate's strange behavior, I remembered something. On our wedding night, Nate had been very passionate. But I suddenly fainted. When I woke up, it was the next day. Even the doctors said I was just exhausted and stressed. I believed them. It was my first time getting married, and planning the wedding had been exhausting. But it was after I got home from the hospital that Nate rarely touched me. He was concerned about me, in his own way. He said my body was too weak. He even brought me some special vitamin-like supplements from abroad. The housekeeper would often make me medicinal broths, and I had indeed felt much healthier over the past 2 years. The habit had just stuck. Nate didn't say anything. He helped me back to the hospital room and closed the door. He took a deep breath. That's how my mom passed away. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to handle it if you knew, so I wanted to keep it from you. A good mood is better for recovery. I thought your body hadn't fully healed, and I was worried that getting pregnant would interfere with your treatment. That's why I said what I said. I'm sorry I hurt you. After speaking, Nate looked away. He seemed terrified of being close to me. I stood up and backed him into a corner, step by step. Are you disgusted by me? Do you hate me? You don't want to touch me? With every question, Nate shook his head more and more firmly. No. After a long moment, he finally forced the words out through gritted teeth. The doctor said, with your condition, we could have sex occasionally, but you couldn't get pregnant. One time you got drunk and were all over me, and I couldn't resist. But thinking about your health, I used a condom. And then, you fainted again. You're allergic to latex. It was my own medical history, but Nate looked more embarrassed than I felt. The blush spread from his cheeks down to his neck. His ears were so red they looked like they were about to bleed. I avoided you because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to control myself. The truth is, I really want to hold you. Nate suddenly leaned in, bringing that handsome face, the one I would always love no matter how much time passed, right in front of mine. Jane, I like you. A lot. Maybe this is what love is. I don't really get it, I'm still learning. I'm sorry. I didn't handle some things well, and I hurt you. After he finished, he couldn't look at me, his eyes cast down. But the rapid fluttering of his eyelashes betrayed how nervous he was. I kissed his cheek. Thank you, honey. It turned out Nate wasn't just a man of few words. He had been clumsily showing his love through his actions all along. Once we confirmed my health was not in any serious danger, Nate took the opportunity to suggest we go home. Zoe and I looked at each other, and the thought of our horrible mother-in-law was like a bucket of ice water. We sobered up instantly. Even our warmth toward the two brothers cooled down. This time, Nate knew he had to explain, but Leo beat him to it. When you two disappeared from Mom's salon, Nate couldn't find you. He literally had her salon demolished. Mom screamed herself hoarse. But that wasn't the end of it. You know how we live on the south side? Nate bought her a villa on the north side. He sent her to live there by herself and hired 10 nannies for her. Apparently, every single one of them is an expert debater, guaranteed to take good care of her. Our mom was so mad she stayed in the hospital for a week, but she gave in. She says the last people she wants to see now are us, and that from now on, we should just text her if we need something. No calls or video chats. When we got back to the estate, it was completely transformed. All the little things in the living room that my bestie and I used to love, the ones our mother-in-law had thrown out or broken, were back in pristine condition, taking center stage. All the Tang and Song dynasty antiques and famous artworks were relegated to the corners. And all the decorating ideas Zoe and I had liked on Pinterest had been applied to the house. The place we once wanted to escape had been completely turned into our dream home. Leo pulled Zoe aside. I don't know what he did, but Zoe yelped. I'm pregnant. What are you doing taking your shirt off? Honey, look, do you like this chest chain? Please don't look for other guys. I can be a pretty boy, or I can be your puppy. Whatever you want. I've been eating oysters and chives every day. From now on, I'll go 8 times a night. Oh my God, stop talking. We're trying to have good prenatal influence here, you know? I pressed my lips together to keep from laughing, but then Nate leaned in and whispered in my ear. I bought the same stuff he did. Got the second one half price on Temu. Seeing my shocked expression, Nate smiled. My wife gets the best. I can make do with whatever. And you know, Leo and I eat the same things. But every time we go to the gym, I work out for an hour longer than he does. Alright, then. So even blood brothers get into these little contests. Nate led me back to our room. The moment I walked in, I saw our big bed covered in a glittering golden display. 7 large gold bars were laid out neatly. One word on each bar. Wife, welcome home. I cleared my throat. Next time, remember to engrave my social security number on them. To be specific. And maybe add another 18 gold bars. Nate wrapped his arms around me. Okay. I hugged him back. Finally, I was holding my whole world.